Picture this. You're cruising down the freeway at 100 kilometers per hour. Traffic is flowing smoothly. Suddenly, you spot flashing lights ahead. A tow truck is assisting a broken-down vehicle on the shoulder. Do you know what you're legally required to do right now? If you're unsure, you're not alone. Thousands of Australian drivers are about to face one of the most significant road rule changes in recent history. And getting it wrong could cost you nearly $1,000 in fines. This isn't just another minor traffic update. This is a game changer that could impact every single drive you take from now on. Welcome to my channel. Today we're diving deep into the critical emergency vehicle rule changes that have rolled out across Australia in November 2025. And if you're a driver in this country, you absolutely need to know what's changed, why it matters, and how to avoid costly mistakes that could leave you with a suspended license and a massive dent in your wallet. These aren't small adjustments. We're talking about nationwide reforms that fundamentally change how you interact with emergency vehicles, roadside assistance workers, and incident response teams. Some states have already implemented portions of these rules, but November 2025 marks a pivotal moment when enforcement intensifies and penalties become significantly harsher. So, whether you're a daily commuter in Sydney, a weekend driver in Melbourne, or a road tripper exploring the outback, these changes affect you directly. Let's start with the most critical change that every Australian driver must understand. The emergency vehicle slowdown rule has been dramatically expanded across multiple states, and the consequences for non-compliance are severe. In Victoria, one of the most comprehensive implementations took effect on July 1st, but enforcement ramped up significantly in November. Road Rule 79. A now requires all drivers to reduce their speed to 40 kilometers per hour when passing any stationary or slow-moving vehicle that is displaying flashing lights or sounding an alarm. Now, you might be thinking this sounds familiar. You'd be partially right. The original version of this rule was introduced back in 2017, but it only covered police cars, ambulances, fire trucks, and state emergency service vehicles. Was ist verändert ist enorm. The expanded rule now includes accident towing trucks, breakdown towing services, roadside assistance vehicles like RACV patrol vans, and incident response units operating on major toll roads, including Peninsula Link, Eastlink, and all transurban managed highways. Here's what makes this so important. The rule applies to vehicles displaying flashing red, blue, magenta, which is that purple color you'll see, or yellow lights. If the vehicle is stationary or moving at less than 10 kilometers per hour with these lights active, you must slow to 40 kilometers per hour. This applies regardless of what lane you're in, even on multi-lane freeways. You could be in the far right lane of a 6-lane highway, and if there's a tow truck with flashing lights on the left shoulder, you're still required to slow down. The only exception is if you're traveling on the opposite side of a road that's divided by a median strip. In that case, you don't need to slow down because you're physically separated from the incident. Now, let's talk about the penalties, because this is where it gets serious. In Victoria, standard fines for failing to comply with this rule start at $346. But here's the critical part. Under certain circumstances, those fines can escalate all the way up to $961. While this particular offense doesn't carry demerit points, the financial penalty alone is designed to be a strong deterrent. The message from authorities couldn't be clearer. This rule is non-negotiable. But Victoria isn't the only state with strict emergency vehicle rules. South Australia has implemented some of the toughest regulations in the country. Drivers there must reduce their speed to just 25 kilometers per hour when passing stationary emergency or breakdown vehicles on multi-lane roads when their lights are activated. Yes, you heard that correctly. 25 kilometers per hour. That's slower than most school zones. And if you fail to comply, you're looking at fines of up to $1,648 plus 7 demerit points. 7 demerit points is a massive hit to your license. For many drivers, especially those who already have points on their record, this could be the violation that triggers a license suspension. The reasoning behind these rules is straightforward but powerful. Roadside workers, whether they're paramedics, police officers, tow truck operators, or roadside assistance technicians, face incredible danger every single day. An RACV survey found that 83% of roadside workers experience a near miss with another passing motorist at least once per week. Think about that statistic for a moment. Once per week, these workers come dangerously close to being struck by a vehicle. Some aren't so lucky. Every year, roadside workers are injured or killed by passing traffic. These rule changes are designed to create a buffer zone of safety that gives these essential workers the protection they deserve while they're helping stranded motorists or responding to emergencies. But the November 2025 changes go far beyond just the slowdown rules. There's been a massive crackdown on mobile phone use while driving, and the technology being deployed to catch offenders is unlike anything we've seen before. Multiple states, particularly New South Wales, Victoria, and Western Australia, have dramatically expanded their use of artificial intelligence-powered detection cameras. These aren't your traditional speed cameras. These are sophisticated systems that can automatically identify whether you're holding, touching, or using your mobile phone while driving, even when you're stopped at traffic lights. The cameras use advanced image recognition technology to scan vehicles, identify the driver, and detect if a phone is in their hands. And the penalties are brutal. Fines range up to $1,200 in some jurisdictions, plus demerit points that can quickly accumulate toward a license suspension. The national framework around mobile device use has also been strengthened. There's now a comprehensive ban on handheld mobile phones and smartwatches while driving. If your device isn't mounted and in hands-free mode, touching it is illegal. Period. This includes when you're stopped at red lights. Many drivers mistakenly believe that if the car is stationary, it's okay to check their phone. Wrong. Unless your vehicle is parked, your phone should be mounted or put away entirely. One of the most significant nationwide changes that rolled out in November involves what authorities are calling the immediate consequence framework. This is a new approach to traffic enforcement that's designed to have an instant deterrent effect. Under regulations that apply uniformly across Australia, certain high-risk driving behaviors now trigger both a $1,500 fine and automatic license cancellation. Previously, each state and territory had slightly different rules regarding traffic violations and license suspensions, which sometimes caused confusion. This new nationwide framework ensures consistency. No matter where you are in Australia, the same serious offenses carry the same severe consequences. So what behaviors trigger this immediate response? The primary targets are mobile phone use while driving, speeding in emergency lanes, and failing to give way to emergency vehicles. These are behaviors that authorities have identified as leading causes of serious accidents and fatalities. Mobile phone distractions and unsafe lane behavior remain the top contributors to traffic incidents across Australia. By enforcing stricter penalties, authorities aim to reduce both fatal and serious crashes. The thinking is simple. If drivers know that one mistake could immediately cost them their license and $1,500, they'll be far more cautious about engaging in risky behavior. Let's talk about who this impacts most. The data shows that younger drivers are statistically more likely to engage in high-risk behaviors, like phone use and aggressive driving. Commuters in high-traffic areas, where violations like mobile phone use and emergency lane obstruction are more common, are also at higher risk. And repeat offenders will find very little leniency under these new regulations. The law leaves almost no room for excuses or second chances when it comes to these critical safety violations. Now, here's something that many drivers don't fully understand about the emergency vehicle rules. When you see flashing lights ahead, you can't just slam on the brakes and drop to 40 kilometers per hour instantly. especially if you're on a high-speed road. The rule requires you to slow down safely. That means checking your rear-view mirror first to make sure you're not going to cause a rear-end collision with the vehicle behind you. You then need to gradually reduce your speed to 40 kilometers per hour. Maintain that speed while passing the scene and be prepared to stop if directed by emergency personnel. Only once you've cleared the scene and reached a safe distance can you return to the posted speed limit. The challenge here is that a safe distance isn't specifically defined in the legislation because every incident is different. For example, imagine a fire truck is stationed by the roadside with flashing lights, but firefighters are managing a blaze further up the road. In that instance, you must not increase your speed until you've passed all emergency personnel at the scene, which could be several hundred meters beyond where you first saw the truck. On the other hand, if it's a police vehicle that's pulled someone over for a quick traffic stop, you might only need to maintain 40 kilometers per hour for a much shorter distance. The key is to be aware of the individual circumstances of each incident and drive accordingly. Use common sense and err on the side of caution. Another major change that's often overlooked involves electric vehicle charging zones. With Australia's rapid adoption of electric vehicles, new regulations have been introduced to manage EV-only parking bays. These spaces now have strict enforcement rules. If your vehicle is parked in an EV charging bay but isn't actively charging, you can be penalized. This rule is designed to ensure that charging infrastructure remains available for drivers who actually need it, rather than being used as convenient parking spots by EV owners who aren't charging their vehicles. Child restraint requirements have also been strengthened nationwide. All children under 10 years of age must now use an approved child restraint system, and parents face fines if they fail to comply. This isn't a minor administrative penalty. Authorities are treating child safety violations with the same seriousness as other major traffic offenses because the consequences of improper restraints can be catastrophic in the event of a collision. We're also seeing a significant push toward technology-mandated safety features in new vehicles. From November 1st, all new cars sold in Australia must be equipped with reversing cameras and parking sensors under Australian Design Rule 108. This requirement will expand to include all vehicles by November 2027. While this doesn't change how existing vehicles operate, it does signal a broader trend toward mandatory safety technology. We've already seen the implementation of autonomous emergency braking systems for new vehicles earlier this year, and intelligent speed assistance technology is on the horizon. These systems use GPS and camera data to help keep vehicles within speed limits, and while they're currently voluntary in Australia, they're already mandatory in Europe. It's only a matter of time before similar requirements are introduced here. Speed limit changes have also been implemented in various states. Western Australia has lowered speed limits on numerous roads, with certain areas dropping from 60 kilometers per hour to 50 and others reducing to 40 kilometers per hour in high pedestrian zones. Queensland and Western Australia have both adopted significant speed reductions in areas with high volumes of pedestrian traffic. Select regional roads in some states have seen speed limits drop from ranges of 80 to 110 kilometers per hour down to 70 to 80 kilometers per hour as part of rural road safety trials. These changes are based on data showing that even small reductions in speed can dramatically decrease both the likelihood and severity of accidents. The penalties for severe speeding have also increased. In some states, fines for serious speeding offenses can now reach up to $1,600. When you combine that with the potential for immediate license suspension under the new nationwide framework, the financial and practical consequences of speeding have never been more severe. Authorities stress that these measures aren't simply about punishment. They're intended to promote behavioral change and create a culture of safer driving across the entire country. One aspect of these changes that deserves special attention is the shift in how traffic enforcement is conducted. AI-powered cameras are becoming increasingly sophisticated and widespread. These systems can now detect multiple types of violations simultaneously. A single camera setup might be monitoring for speeding, phone use, and seatbelt compliance all at once. In the ACT, mobile detection cameras expanded their capabilities in early November to monitor for seatbelt offenses by both drivers and passengers. These cameras can automatically identify whether everyone in the vehicle is properly restrained and issue infringements on the spot. The technology is remarkably accurate, but it's also controversial. Privacy advocates have raised concerns about the extent of surveillance on public roads, while safety advocates argue that the technology is essential for changing dangerous driver behaviors that have proven resistant to traditional enforcement methods. Regardless of where you stand on this debate, the reality is clear. These camera systems are here, they're expanding, and they're catching violations that would have gone unnoticed just a few years ago. So what should you do to ensure you're compliant with all these changes? First, and most importantly, slow down for emergency vehicles. Whenever you see flashing lights of any color, red, blue, magenta, yellow, on a vehicle that's stationary or moving slowly, prepare to reduce your speed. Check your mirrors, slow down gradually and safely, and maintain 40 kilometers per hour or the required speed for your state until you've completely cleared the scene. Second, keep your phone mounted or put away. There's no text message, no call, no navigation adjustment that's worth a $1,200 fine and demerit points. If you must use your phone, pull over safely and legally first. Third, respect EV charging zones, speed limits, and all posted traffic signs. The penalties for violations have increased across the board, and enforcement is more active than ever. Fourth, ensure all passengers, especially children, are properly restrained. Child restraint violations carry serious penalties and, more importantly, put young lives at risk. Fifth, stay informed about rule changes in your state. While many of these regulations are now consistent nationwide, there are still state-specific variations that you need to know. Transport departments in every state maintain updated information on their websites, and it's worth checking periodically to ensure you're up to date. It's also worth understanding the philosophy behind these changes. The Australian government has committed to achieving Vision Zero, zero deaths and serious injuries on our roads by 2050. That's an ambitious goal, and these 2025 rule changes are a significant step toward that objective. The approach is based on research showing that road trauma is preventable through a combination of safer vehicles, safer speeds, safer roads, and safer road use. Every regulation we've discussed today fits into one or more of these categories. The emergency vehicle rules create safer conditions for workers and first responders. The mobile phone bans address dangerous, distracted driving. The speed reductions in high-risk areas acknowledge that lower speeds mean both fewer crashes and less severe outcomes when crashes do occur. The mandatory safety technology in new vehicles provides an additional layer of protection that doesn't rely on driver attention or reaction time. All of these measures work together as part of a comprehensive strategy. Now, some drivers will inevitably feel that these rules are too strict or that enforcement is too heavy-handed. It's true that Australian traffic laws are becoming more rigorous and that penalties are increasing, but it's also true that road trauma remains a significant public health issue. Thousands of Australians are killed or seriously injured on our roads every year. The economic cost runs into billions of dollars annually. More importantly, every statistic represents a real person, someone's parent, child, sibling, or friend, whose life was cut short or permanently altered by a preventable crash. The evidence from jurisdictions that have implemented similar rules shows that they work. When Victoria first introduced the 40 km/h slowdown rule for emergency vehicles back in 2017, there was initial resistance and confusion. But over time, compliance improved, And importantly, the number of near misses and injuries to roadside workers decreased. The expansion of that rule to include tow trucks and roadside assistance vehicles in 2025 was directly driven by data showing that these workers faced the same dangers as police and paramedics, but lacked the same legal protections. Similar patterns have played out with mobile phone enforcement. States that deployed AI detection cameras saw significant reductions in phone use while driving within months of implementation. The message from all of this is clear. Australian road rules are evolving to reflect both the changing nature of our roads and the technologies available to keep them safe. The November 2025 changes represent one of the most comprehensive updates in recent history. For drivers, the adjustment period may feel challenging, but the long-term goal is worth it. Fewer deaths, fewer injuries, and roads that are safe for everyone, whether you're behind the wheel, working on the roadside, or simply trying to get from one place to another. Remember, these aren't just rules for the sake of rules. Every regulation we've discussed today was created in response to real-world tragedies and near misses. When you slow down for that tow truck on the shoulder, you're potentially saving someone's life. When you put your phone away while driving, you're ensuring you won't be the cause of a devastating crash. When you comply with these rules, you're contributing to a culture of safety that benefits every single person who uses our roads. As we move forward into this new era of traffic regulation, the responsibility falls on each of us to stay informed, drive carefully, and prioritize safety above convenience. The fines and penalties are certainly motivating factors, but the real reason to follow these rules is much simpler. Wir alle verdienen es, am Ende jeder Reise sicher nach Hause zu kommen. If you found this information valuable and want to stay updated on important changes that affect your daily life, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with other drivers in your life, because chances are they need to know about these changes too. Drop a comment below if you have questions about specific situations or if you've already encountered these new rules on the road. I read every comment and I'm here to help clarify anything that might be confusing. Drive safely out there, respect the rules, and remember that every decision you make behind the wheel has the potential to save a life. Danke fürs Zuschauen und ich sehe dich im nächsten Video.